Hi everybody, welcome to our e-learning for Math Lab for the week of April 6th. I hope all of you had a good spring break. I know it was a really weird time and it's still a really weird time, so if there's something I can do to support you, please feel free to reach out. My contact information is here for you. My email's there and also my Google Voice number. Feel free to text or call that number anytime. I wanted to start out today by walking through our calendar for this week because it's going to look a little different than a normal week. I wanted to take some time to do some reflection on what's been happening in the world, but do it in a way that's really meaningful for math and analyzing different graphs and structures that we might see coming out. It's really easy to get caught up in our news feed and things that we're seeing on the news, things we're hearing about. And so I want us to practice this week getting really good at analyzing the information that's in front of us and thinking about whether or not it's something that we should be trusting, whether or not it's reliable, and if not, what can we do about it? So this week we're going to be looking at some graphs and we're going to be analyzing some graphs that have come out about the COVID-19 outbreak. These graphs are from the New York Times, and so we're going to think about that source as our basis for the next couple of days. But I also want you to be really critical of that source and think, is this something that I can trust? Is it reliable? Why or why not? So today we're going to go ahead and we're going to walk through this analysis process. I'm going to model for you an example, and then I'm going to introduce your first graph that you're going to be analyzing. Tomorrow, you're going to be making a connection between a graph that you find and the graph that we're looking at and an article. You will have your second graph analysis and article connection on Wednesday and Thursday, and then Friday is a flex day. It's kind of an opportunity for us to get caught up, for me to answer any questions you might have, etc. I built this into our calendar because we don't have office hours like we would normally have, or that 10-day makeup window. And so this is an opportunity for you to make sure you get your points in for the week. So let's go ahead and jump in for today and let's see kind of what we're going to be looking at and what we're doing. As you see on my screen, this is the example. We're going to walk through this one together. So if you'd like to get out a piece of lined paper and jot down what my examples look like, this is a really easy way for you to get a sense of what I'm expecting in this first part of the assignment. So let's go ahead and take a look at this example. We see what's going on in the curve on this graph, flatten the curve as our title. So it's really important right now that we think about doing some analysis of what we already see. So first thing I notice is that I have a title here, and that my title is going to give me some clues into the context of my graph. So I'm going to know about the main idea. I'm going to be able to tell you what is really happening in my graph before I even dive further into and actually seeing what the picture shows. I also get some more context with this question: how can protective measures like social distancing affect how the coronavirus outbreak impacts our society? So my title is giving clues, and not only is my title giving clues into the context, but my opening questions also give context about the main idea. So when it comes time to answering my questions and doing my analysis below, I know I'm going to come back to this information. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and I'm even going to put a little star by this on my graph because I know it's something that's really important and it's something that could help me later. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn this into a nice color. Ooh, not that one, but a color that we know is different than the rest of things. So let's go ahead and let's look at our graph. Here we are. Some information that I want to pay really close attention to and that I'm going to note for myself is the information on my axes. So I have number of cases and I have my time since my first case. I know those things are really important. I see some other information that I want to pay really close attention to, and I'm going to pay close attention to it because I see that it's different than other points on the graph. So I'm going to put a little arrow by this healthcare system capacity because that's a stagnant line that's running across. So that's going to tell me an important piece of information about this graph, and that is that this graph is analyzing how strong or how much potential our healthcare system has. And I got that again just by looking at the information. So now I also have two other pieces of information I can pay attention to. I have my red graph, which says without protective measures, and I see my blue graph that says with protective measures. So I'm going to be able to draw a conclusion here based on my scales that as time goes on, so as we move across that x-axis, if we have too many, if we don't have enough protective measures in place, our number of cases is going to rise. But as we go through time, if we have protective measures, we're going to have less cases. As we see, our number of cases on this blue graph is smaller, and that's going to keep our healthcare system in check. So now that I've done that basic analysis, I can go ahead and answer the questions that I'm going to ask all of you to answer. So the first thing that I'm going to make note of here with the three questions that I'm going to be answering is, what did I notice on this graph? And it says if I make a claim, to tell me what I noticed that supports the claim. So the first thing I noticed is that, let's make this smaller so we don't run out of space, is that with protective measures, our healthcare system will be able to deal with the COVID-19 outbreak. This is seen in the blue section of the graph. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to again make that a different color so that we can see our responses. I've answered, I've made a claim, and I've supported it with some evidence from my graph. Something that I wonder, something that I'm curious about is mostly, is this graph true for the US? Is it true for the world? There is nothing on this graph that tells me specifically about where this information is true for. I also might include, like, what is this based on? Do we have information that I can use to judge this? How can I know that this is real? And what's going on in this graph? Write a catchy headline that captures the graph's main idea. I'm going to go ahead, and I know I've already kind of summarized what is happening and what I notice. And so my headline might be protective measures protect the healthcare system. So this might be how I not only just summarize what I'm seeing in the graph, but also put it into that catchy headline. Okay, so this is kind of what I'm looking for when I say I want you to analyze graphs this week. So let's talk about your assignment then for today, and let's jump to our next slide. So your first assignment, assignment number 1, is to do the same graph analysis that we just walked through. So in a second, I'm going to reveal the graph. You're going to look at the graph. You're going to analyze the axes, the title, the context clues, just like we did together. And then you're going to use those observations to answer the analysis questions, the exact same questions that we just answered in that model. So here is our graph. Let me slide it down a little bit. We're still thinking about things that are going on related to the coronavirus outbreak. Your analysis questions are here. This assignment is also available on the Google Drive at that tiny URL. So let me also just put that up here for you so we don't forget about it. I'll put it in that blue again so we can see it. And let me make this so we can actually see what we're looking at. So here is that tiny URL, how-highschool. If you are looking to get this in a different like visual format, if looking at it on this screen isn't helpful, you'll also see it in a bigger view on the next slide. I just want you to go ahead and write out these questions on a piece of lined paper. You can also type it into a Google Doc if you want, but really all I need you to do is copy down 1, 2, 3 and answer those 3 questions. Save this piece of paper. Do not email it to me or anything yet today. And we will talk about the second part of this assignment tomorrow. But today we are just going to be analyzing this graph. Here it is in a bigger fashion, so it might be a little bit easier to see. Still thinking about those 3 analysis questions, answering those before the end of the day today. If you have any questions on how to analyze this graph, kind of what you're seeing, etc., please feel free to reach out to me and let me know what I can do to help you out. Otherwise, we will see you tomorrow and have a great rest of your day.